Hello everyone. This is a demo of an idea that I have about platform engineering. In this demo, I'm gonna show you how to provision a platform. In this case, it's just gonna be a CI tool called Jenkins. The CI tool that I choose was Jenkins because of the ecosystem that I'm working on, which is Proxmox. So Proxmox is just a virtualization software that helps you to have some on-premise, like your servers that you provision, the servers that you have, and then you want to provision those like as virtual machine offering to your company. So in this case, you can leverage Proxmox for doing that. And in this demo, I'm just using Proxmox to uh, create a virtual machine. Within that virtual machine, I'm gonna be installing Jenkins, and I'm using Jenkins as a continuous integration tool or CI tool for a provisioning like other resources. In this case, I have another pipeline demo of a PHP application. Um, Obviously, in this case, I'm gonna be already creating some base images or golden images. These golden images are built in Ubuntu Debian, and within those instances, I'm gonna be installing Jenkins. And for the pipeline example, I'm gonna be providing um, PHP on top of that. And the other thing that I want to talk about is how I'm provisioning these resources in Proxmox is through OpenTofu. OpenTofu is a infrastructure as code software that uses the HashiCorp language to define the style state. Like, it's very descriptive in regards of what you want to be reflected in your infrastructure, right? So we use that OpenTofu. It's a fork from Terraform, which is HashiCorp product. And yeah, let's go to the terminal now. All right, so now that I have my Visual Studio Code open, I'm gonna show you how to bootstrap the solution or the platform uh, with some where we are gonna be leveraging some of the bash scripts that I created. Uh, when we have this kind of a scenario, it's like it's the first time that you're provisioning your platform, right? So that means that you don't have anything besides your computer or like the engineer's computer to create the resources, right? And obviously you have provisioned previously your Proxmox server, and you have the access to the Proxmox API to execute the creation of virtual machines. Um, in this demo, I'm not going to be showing like the provisioning of the Proxmox server, and I'm also not going to show you how to generate the API tokens that OpenTofu will require for you to create a virtual machine. So in this case, it's just gonna be the bootstrapping process of the platform itself, which is just the creation of a virtual machine, which is going to be installing Jenkins on top of it, right? So another thing to mention is that you also have the need to already have in your environment the golden images that you're gonna be using, or the base images that you're gonna be using. I'm gonna have another video on how you can create those base images in Proxmox. And the thing here that I would like to talk more about it is that when you use OpenTofu, and you use like this way of provisioning resources, is that you're gonna be extending your capabilities not only for on-premise um, cloud solution or on-premise solutions. You can extend this to the need of like cloud engineering solutions, right? Where you can have another module written in OpenTofu or Terraform, where you can leverage and create those resources within your platform or within your pipelines. So I'm just gonna execute the bootstrapping command, which, as I said, is just executing from your terminal the instructions to provision that virtual machine inside the Proxmox server, and once that virtual machine is instantiated and provisioned in your Proxmox server, the code is going to execute an Ansible playbook to install all the necessary software that Jenkins required to function, and also executing some scripts that I'm gonna be talking about into it. All right, so I'm just going to hit here Bootstrap. So the first part of this is provisioning the dev environment. The purpose of having a dev environment within the solution of Jenkins is because at the end, the platform engineering team is going to be in charge of managing the server, or managing the application, right? Or managing the virtual machine. Just to prevent any disruption of the service, once you leverage and give this to your dev teams, we need to have, as a dev engineer, as a platform engineer, a way to safely test our changes within our platform, right, before make them available to our broadly company or broadly developer teams, right? So in this case, again, just iterating with what I said, is like I'm provisioning a Jenkins dev instance, where in this case I'm just gonna be showing that it's going to be the same way how we provision Jenkins for the production, but in this case the purpose of the dev Jenkins is different as opposed to the production Jenkins. Okay, all right, so now that the instance got provisioned, I'm gonna show you that in here in Proxmox. So now you can see here Proxmox has a Jenkins dev instance already running. If I just get that from here, which is this is the IP of that dev Jenkins, just gonna copy. Probably it's not gonna be just ready, and it's not going to like serve any of my requests because the playbook hasn't started where Jenkins is getting installed. So going back to here, what this piece of, or this part of the playbook is doing is just getting the latest ingredients from the internet. In this case, you can have this as a repository that is centralized and private to your company, but in this case it's just for the demo purposes. It's reaching out the internet, grabbing those package updates, applying the latest ingredients in that virtual machine running in Ubuntu inside my Proxmox, and it will install other software after the update, which is Docker and other things, right? I'm not using Docker in this demo either, but it's just like things that I'm just installing available for that virtual machine. Going to the section where I'm defining what is installed, right? So when you have Jenkins, you have two roles. One role is the controller that orchestrates the execution of the pipelines, and also it plays other roles like where your credentials store, where the some of the artifacts that the pipeline requires also it's used, etc. Right? But in this case, I'm just gonna say like as it's the orchestration layer for Jenkins. And then we have another role here, which is the Jenkins agent. The Jenkins agent role, it is where once you define the pipeline, it has to run in a computer, right? It has to run as a sub-process of a given computer. So that is what Jenkins agent is. It's just like from the Jenkins controller, it can access processes for another virtual machine or the same virtual machine, where it can execute the instructions that you're defining in your pipeline. In this case, I have a single instance that has two roles, which is the Jenkins controller and the Jenkins agent. And also, it's a good practice to separate those because then you have a Jenkins that is just solemnly used for the execution of the pipeline, and obviously like you leveraging more the resources of that agent, and it can have a different life cycle, right? So that's another important part of like here, that you can split the virtual application or the virtual machines into different life cycles, and then that will like enhance the platform itself. Anyway, so um, now that the Jenkins got installed, so you can see here one of the instructions inside my Ansible playbook. Um, the 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 Ansible playbook is getting executing Groovy scripts. The Groovy scripts in Jenkins are very useful in regards of like automating like very bootstrapping task for your Jenkins application. In my case, what I'm doing is just like getting rid of the wizard of Jenkins installation for the first time, right? So I'm creating the admin credentials for my purpose of administration. So that's one of the things. And the other thing that I'm doing here, I have a list of plugins that I need in my platform to be installed out of the box or after the installation of Jenkins. So that's also one of the things that I have in this bootstrapping script in Jenkins or the Groovy. Then I have credentials. These credentials are being used by OpenTofu for the connection within Jenkins to my Proxmox server to be able to provision those instances that I want to create with the source code of my application, right? And then I have a SSH key. This SSH key is also some housekeeping item where I have this key or this .pen private key inside my credentials for Jenkins or in Jenkins to connect to the web server and then apply my deployment script, which is just like grabbing from GitHub the source code, putting into like the Jenkins agent. The Jenkins agent makes the connections to the web server that was provisioned by the pipeline and copied all of these source code for that given application inside my web server, right? And now that is going to be the solution of continuous deployment, where you have like tightly coupled Jenkins CI with Jenkins CD. And we can talk about like that in later, but it's just like, in this case, it's just gonna be your Jenkins acting as a pipeline driver to deploy infrastructure or in deploy infrastructure and deploy application on top of the infrastructure that you are deploying. All right, so going back to the Jenkins API, so this is my dev Jenkins. Now you will see that it's prompting me to enter my credentials. So I can go into and enter my credentials. And one of the things that I have inside the Jenkins agent is just bringing into the Jenkins controller the creation of a simple vanilla pipeline, which is going to do this CI/CD process of my PHP application. And here it could be PHP, it could be .NET, could be Java, it could be whatever you want. So in the pipeline process might be slightly different, but now you have that capability where you can have everything deployed as a code, right? All right. Going back to here, I just as I said, creating this pipeline job. The pipeline job is this one that is currently running and creating an ephemeral virtual machine. The reason why I call this ephemeral virtual machine, and this is gonna be like a kind of a challenge to PHP, is that I'm deploying, or it's a representation of a life cycle of an application, right? In a web application. In this case, PHP or the pipeline will be creating inside Proxmox a virtual machine, and that virtual machine, it's going to be serving HTTP requests to my clients where they are requesting the PHP application, right? Also, in this thing that I would like to call out is that I don't have a database. It is also very important to talk about the database peers, because now you have a stateful application that requires data, right? And then if you need to save a state of a virtual machine, then you don't have the ability as freely do the ephemeral approach, because now you need to maintain the state of the database. In this case, I'm just like splitting out the application per se from the database solution. So the database, if we were to have a database, then the life cycle of that database will be probably another pipeline to maintain that, right? Okay, so now that talk about that a little bit. In this case, I wait for 5 minutes, but in this case, won't be like you need to wait 5 minutes, right? It's just maybe that you had another source code change to your application, and within that, you needed to destroy the previous application, and you want to recreate the web servers with the latest application or the latest source code. So in that's what this will be showing. The other part of this is that every time that you make a change, now you can have this pipeline getting executed and then provision the resources necessary to execute your application in a new web server. Let me just go to here. The production Jenkins is still getting executed, and I will show you once that get provision and functional. I will show you the application already presented by the production Jenkins, but you will see here a new virtual machine was created with that latest source code pulled from your source of truth. In this case was GitHub, and then just going back to the dev Jenkins where the destruction of that virtual machine happened, and now you have successfully executed this pipeline. Let's just now go to the Jenkins prod. Let me go through here. I will see that the Jenkins it's getting restarted, because that's where the pipeline is at right now. It finished right now, the restart of Jenkins, and now what this is doing is going through the process of configuring the Jenkins role, the Jenkins agent role, excuse me. And then I can go to that Jenkins production. And you can see here now it's also getting that pipeline executed, because it's part of the process of provisioning or the bootstrapping Jenkins, or is part of my Ansible role. So now if I go to the console right now, you will see now that the Jenkins prod is provisioning another virtual machine, which is going to act as a web server virtual machine. And once that is provisioned, we're gonna go through the same process of what happens with dev, where we had the Jenkins pipeline copying all of the source code of the application and make that application available to the clients by the web server. So one other thing to call out is like in this mode, on this part, for accessing the virtual machine inside Proxmox, you need to get the agent or the QEMU agent installed. That will allow the Proxmox server to find out more about the virtual machine that is in this case running inside it, right? So which is one of the things that you will have is just the ability of getting the IP of that virtual machine. So here, and now I click enter, and now you have here your PHP application using the code igniter framework. And I'm just gonna quickly go back to here. So here, once the server got provision, it pushed the information that the web server requires to be part of like functioning on, or just like now, now that is this here, it's adding the functionality to serve the request from the outside world and present that PHP application to your clients. And let's just going back to here, and let's see what happens here with the playbook. Once the solution got provision, you now have the ability to use Jenkins, and Jenkins will be just acting as your CI tool, continuous integration tool. As I said too, like one of the Groovy scripts that I have is provisioning or adding to this controller credentials. So if I go here, I have here defined some of the credentials that my my project requires. So one of that credentials are the private key or SSH key, the Proxmox credentials to access the Proxmox server, and then GitHub credentials to be able to retrieve as a HTTPS protocol my project. So you can see too in that coordinator demo, this is very simple, but worth to see when you have here the application that you are presenting to the client. So here is the access. Jenkins uses this Jenkins file to be able to provision the resources, and now here I'm just like referring some of the environment variables or creating these environment variables within my pipeline to provision the resources or use the resources that I have. And that's basically it. So we see here now that the pipeline was successful in the Jenkins. And yeah, thank you so much. In the other videos, I will try to showcase how you will be able from source code to create and provision base images and golden images. So stay tuned. Thank you.